The first part of the service is going to be de-webbing the home and knocking down any spider webs or wasp nests. This is after we've communicated with the customer, letting him know that we are at the home. These web pulls extend up to about 24 feet, and where we are de-webbing is going to be all eaves, all cracks and crevices and corners around the home. But it is not just up high. We go down around the base for any extra spider webs, and then we're going to be up high. And again, we're going to be careful around our light fixtures because these are not on as stiffly as you think they would be. Around doorways, making sure we're removing wasp nests and spider webs, and specific wasp nests called mud daubers, which look like dirt on these brick areas. We have a separate tool, a paint hook, that we unscrew this web brush and we screw on a paint hook, and we are able to scrape off these mud daubers. They do not come off clean, but we remove the bulk of the nest for the customer. So moving away from the front door, as you can see, we will have de-webs along these rain gutters and going up high, and especially up in this peak. This is an example of how to show you how far these web pulls will extend. There are certain homes that are too tall that we cannot reach, but on average, we can hit about 27 feet is the safe assumption. These web pulls extend 24 feet, plus the average height of a person is 5 feet. But as you can see, there's actually a wasp up there trying to nest. You may not be able to see that black dot, but with our sprayer, which I'll show in another video, we don't want to hit windows. And so what we usually will do is apply some form of product to our brush head to make sure we are not having wasps nest up in those peaks. Or if we are needing to prevent wasps or knock down active wasp nests from the peaks. So as you can see, it extends far, but there are certain homes with the style of their peaks that they'll be extra tall that we cannot reach, especially with our sprayer. We treat the second story eaves to the best of our ability. So continuing around the home, as you can see, we'll be able to reach that peak up there. We'll be able to hit underneath these eaves. We'll be going around each of these windows. Again, following around the home, we're going to be hitting all cracks and corners and crevices to make sure that we're knocking down all spider webs and wasp nests around the home. This is the most detailed part of the service and the most time-consuming part of the service. If there are large homes, this is on the larger side of a home. If there are large homes that are against water or lakes or rivers, and you see a good amount of spider webs, which should be helpful as part of an inspection, the technician is going to need extra time to make sure we are hitting these areas properly and correctly. But we will be hitting all around here, again, top to bottom, making sure we're knocking down spider webs and wasp nests, getting rid of the thing that customers can actually see. We're going to be careful around lights in different areas and going up high and around in the deck area. There's usually mud daubers and other wasp nests here. And then again, if you have homes like this where there's a second deck, it is difficult for us to get up there, but if there are wasp nests, we can find a way to get up in there, and we can find a way to get product up in those eaves as well, typically with a smaller sprayer walking through their house. We also put on shoe covers when we're walking through customers' houses. But if there was water right here, and let's say a deck that you had stairs up to, it would be really time consuming to make sure we're getting that deck completely de-webbed, because there are individual slats on the underside of decks. To give you another example of a home with multiple peaks and 2 stories, on these lower peaks, we will be able to usually get liquid treatment up there, and we will still be able to get, if there's wasp nests in these higher peaks, we will still be able to get product up there and get them high enough. But with this de-webbing pull, Beyond this, we will be restricted as to how much higher we can go beyond a peak like this. You might not be able to see very well, but we can get probably another foot or two. But on a typical 2-story home, that's where we are usually maxed out as to how high we can de-web. And again, because of windows and because of the height of our sprayers, we are not going to get liquid up in there. But like I said in a previous video, we still have ways to get product up there if there are pest issues in those eaves. This is an example of 2-story eaves and times where there are aspects of the eaves that we cannot reach or access. It is more difficult to, and we may not be able to always reach and get up where there may be pressures and different pest problems. So again, when promising that we're going to treat all the eaves, it is helpful to know what we can and cannot reach. We can reach most, but there are some homes that are just too tall for us to get treatment to. The next part of the service is the liquid application of product. Today's a perfect example for you guys because it is windy today. We get a little bit limited with what we can treat in the wind because of something called drift. We don't want this product drifting onto flowers and hurting honeybees and other non-target pests or non-target animals. When we do treat with the liquid, we are treating the whole foundation of the house. We're going up and down rain gutters, and we're making sure to get a good liquid treatment around light fixtures where pests may be. And when possible, we change from our fan setting to a pin stream setting to hit the eaves. We will get there in just a minute to show how and how high our backpacks can typically reach with eaves. But again, with the wind, sometimes we get limited onto how high. And like I said in the de-webbing portion, if it's too windy and we can't reach certain areas with the spray part, we have a product that we will apply if there are pest pressures, for example, up in these higher eaves. We can apply that with the brush head, and that is done during the de-webbing process. But again, we're going to be hitting the foundation around the house. We're going to be hitting cracks and crevices and corners where spiders and other bugs may be crawling or trying to harbor and hide. And then again, treating top to bottom as best as we can with the liquid with what we have. We are limited to how high our sprayers can go. And again, same with the wind. And so if there are pest pressures up that high, which typically the only pests up that high are wasps, we will be applying that with the brush head. We try not to hit windows with our sprayers because again, it could leave a residue on the windows. And so we will go underneath the windows, but we will not try to hit the eaves above windows. Again, we have ways to get product up high enough to treat those areas. So as you can see with that sprayer, it doesn't reach those second eaves very well. So we have other ways to get product up there. And just to reiterate again, we will be hitting all these downspouts, the foundation, around windows, and other entry points where pests may be. So again, this is pest prevention into the home. When it comes to flies and wasps and other flying insects, we are limited to how we can prevent those. They fly around, they're avoiding the product right now. So there's only so much we can do for flying insects. After the liquid product is applied to the whole home as much as possible, we then are applying a granular to help with ticks, fleas, and it helps with other general pests as well. This granule does not help with chiggers if you ever have customers ask about that. We are granulating with the general pest pricing up to 1/4 acre. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but that spreader does a pretty wide broadcast. And it is able to be a quicker process because of how much we are putting out. The technician will continue to make passes until we have granulated the whole backyard, front yard, and the sides of the homes as well. We are careful to make sure we are not applying granules to patios and driveways and other sources like that. This granule is water activated and needs to be either rained or watered in for it to take effect. This happens at every service, and again, it is up to a 1/4 acre. Anything beyond a 1/4 acre needs to be approved with the service or branch manager of the location you are in. One of the last things we do on the exterior of the home after the liquid and the granule product has been applied is we apply a dust to cracks, crevices, and weep holes as well as needed. For certain homes, if they have crawl space vents, we will treat the entryways of the crawl space vents with this dust that will hover around the points where pests are nesting or residing. Beyond that, there are typically not a lot of pests in people's crawl spaces, hence the dust treatment by the entryways. One of the other cool things that we can do with this dust is apply it to light fixtures such as these that are open and large, in case that there are wasps or any other bugs nesting in those areas. And it helps to, as a residual and as a treatment in both ways. One other thing that customers will sometimes ask for and that we can treat are children's play sets. Wasps like to nest up in the eaves of these different play sets, and so we can, with a liquid product, treat the high areas and places and corners where pests might be residing as part of the liquid service. On the side of this home as well, there are 2 rodent bait stations. That is a higher initial charge to get that covered, and the rodents go into the bait stations and can leave. This is not a trap for the stations, and I will show you. On this station, it's typically, again, placed on opposite sides of the house to help with rodent control. And inside of this is rodent bait. This one needs to be refreshed, but if you can see it, there are droppings and other aspects to show that there has been rodent activity in here. And so again, higher initial charge, and we will put 2 of these on either side of the house. Check these on the regular services, and on the regular services we will clean this out and replace and replenish bait as necessary.